Hey, Will, what are you doing?
I'm grabbing a glass of wine, man.
Brother, you know we have a podcast to do.
I know, I'm trying to keep from spilling this wine. Hey friends, this is Will.
Hey, everyone, this is Michael.
And welcome to We Know Texas Vino.
Cheers.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to We Know Texas Vino. This is Will.
Hey, guys, this is Michael.
And
we're back to the program here. This is episode 12. We're super pumped up to share more amazing time with you. Did you not look at your notes there, Will? We had a blast.
Today.
We had a blast in the first 11 episodes. We've had a great time. And I just want to compliment you again. The audio is sounding tremendous, and we're just really excited to continue to evolve in that regard. So we're ecstatic to be here in High, Texas for our next episode.
Yeah, here we're at High, Texas. And nobody knows how to spell it. It's Hye.
That's right.
Texas. And it's outside of Johnson City and between Johnson City and Fredericksburg.
Okay, so people know the area for sure. So we're here with Texas Wine Club today with Josh and Clay. And welcome, guys. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, so we're pumped up. So we're already in a beautiful facility here, and we're already having a little wine. So, guys, real quick, tell me about the wine that we're enjoying this morning.
Well, we started off with some bubbles. It is 10 in the morning. So.
Right, yeah. You also say that to our viewers, but yeah, that's all good. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you don't see a whole lot of sparkling wine, at least not traditional sparkling wine in Texas. So this one is from Hilmy. And as it happens, Josh used to run Hilmy.
Oh, okay. That's how that all works out. Okay.
Yeah, I was there for a little over 3 years.
Wow. Okay. All right.
The operations manager.
Yeah, so that's a tasty one. Then we have a second glass as well, Clay.
Yep. So because it is a little early, we went for a Barbera, which you do not see very often in Texas.
Yeah.
It's a grape from Piedmont area in North Italy. So it's going to be a little lighter and
perfect.
Yeah, usually similar.
Because it's before noon, so that's what we're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, it's from Texas Heritage, which is also just right down the road.
Yeah.
Both of these wineries are within 15 miles from me.
Yeah, and it's so exciting to be here because one of the things we're going to learn today, Will and I, is just that you guys are really locking into a lot of different wineries in this region, and you guys are building those relationships. We're really excited for your guys' future, but also to highlight some of the great wineries you're working with. It's so cool, and ideally we'll be at some of those locations, right?
Yeah, we're going to be doing a total of 3 wineries today besides y'all.
Yeah, so that's going to be cool.
We're excited.
Yeah. So, Will, where can people reach out to us?
Well, they can find us on Facebook at We Know Texas Vino, and coming very soon, as soon as I get it done, TexasVino.com.
That'll be exciting.
And you can find us on any major podcasting like Apple iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora.
Right.
I actually found out the other day someone found us on Amazon Music.
Yeah, it was something weird. They found us randomly on some other, that's pretty cool.
And
so
here's what's really cool is we're being seen by different people in different countries now.
So what countries are new? So we've already advertised the England and Germany and it was
Australia,
Japan,
New Zealand.
Japan. Yeah. So any other countries since we talked about that a couple times ago?
I thought I saw Ireland the other day.
Ireland?
Yeah.
I love it. That's pretty cool. And then another thing I pointed out this morning was we, just that last episode has already reached out to, was it 1,900 people through some sort of unique dynamic?
Yep.
That's fantastic. So congratulations on that from my tech guy over there. That's pretty cool. Well, good. Well, any other places they can reach out to us, and how's that all going overall? Is that successful? Or
it's amazing. And so
feedback is good.
Oh yeah, feedback is amazing.
Okay, well that's what I like to hear. Well, let's get after this today. We're super excited to be here in a really beautiful location. I'm actually looking out these windows real quick, and my wife is here with me today, Erica. She and I both agree that this is a good location. We could live here, right, Will?
Oh yeah, I thought to bring my bed out here already.
We know these guys were so friendly. We would have just put up a sleeping bag out here last night and camped here instead of the fun little hotel we stayed in last night. A hammock.
You know what? You and I may be sad about that.
Out here. There's 3 of them.
Oh, there you go. What? Next time, right?
Well, we got to come out here for a week, bring my RV.
There you go. And just hang out with these guys and drink wine and help them box wine.
They would definitely put us to work if we hooked up.
Well, let's get after it. Let's have some fun with these two fellas. So Josh and Clay, thanks for letting us be here today. Great location, great facility. I've already learned a few things about you guys, but we're going to get after that today, okay? And just let's learn about what you're trying to accomplish here. So tell us about your business model here, guys. Josh, we'll start with you real quick. Tell us your background a little bit, what your role is here, and then, why are you here? What's going on here?
All right, so I've been in the wine industry for almost 10 years. I have a chef background. That's what I did before, so everything kind of tied in with that. I got into the wine industry because of the food industry. So it kind of, works hand in hand.
You bet.
And what we decided that Texas wine was lacking is that there was no universal place to go pick up amazing Texas wines. It's like if you go to the grocery store or any of the big box wine stores, the Texas wine selection was severely lacking and the distribution was not there. So what we're trying to be is the in-between between these amazing wineries that don't want to cut their prices so drastically for distribution, but we want to provide the best wines available to all of Texas.
Beautiful. So, very specialized.
For instance, like, the wines that we have in our first 2 shipments, there's a lot of them that people have never heard of, and they're not going to find it at HEB. So, and that's what we're there for, is we're trying to to do the legwork to find the best wines in Texas and ship them directly to your doorstep. So
Right.
everyone can experience that.
That's so cool. So I learned a word a long time. Specificity. What do you call it? What's the word?
Specificity.
Specificity.
That word right there.
Spelling bee. That comes to mind. And so you are specializing, but there's a lot of business models out there that kind of do what you're doing. The one big one I'm thinking of is Amazon.com, of course, but you're doing it more specialized. You're really showcasing these wineries locally as well as the state of Texas. I think that is fantastic. So have you had great successes so far? Are people excited about what you're trying to accomplish?
I think 1,000%. So almost every winery we've talked to is 100% behind what we're doing. And it was needed. It was something, something that needed to be filled. And I think we have good relationships with all of the people that we've worked with. And Clay and I and Camera, Camera's not here today, but she's our other partner in this. Between the three of us, we know a great deal of people in the Texas wine industry. I'm from Lubbock, so I know a lot of the wineries up there. So that's actually where most of the grapes come from, about a 50-mile radius outside of Lubbock. So it's good that we can kind of cover all of the bases, and each of us has different talents in that we represent. Like Hamer's owned a winery before. Clay has a huge education background. He's the most knowledgeable guy I know on wine. And, I'm kind of like the jack of all trades, like operations,
operations.
Everything. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask kind of what your title was or your job description. So you're just kind of the jack of all trades.
Well, I'm director of operations. So
director of operations.
COO,
there we go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Awesome.
It's amazing what you're doing here. So you're almost like the Amazon, you don't see my air quotes, of wine in Texas wine. And I like that because I know there's a lot of wineries. There's 900 wineries in Texas.
Well, not only that, but the wines we've had are fantastic. So it's cool to have this embodiment that can actually get us those wines so quickly and beautifully.
And one of the things that I've noticed in the wine community is everybody helps everybody. It's not like, any other, like Burger King and McDonald's, they're not going to help each other out. But
it is amazing to see if you go to, I'll use William Chris as an example. The amount of things that they let people borrow from their cellar is
right.
That's so cool. That's amazing.
Can I borrow some wine from him?
Well, I don't know if you get it back.
They're pressing wine for people. They're letting them borrow. They're bottling stuff. I mean, it's a very small, close-knit community for sure.
That's great. Well, you obviously bring great value to what you're doing here. That's cool. And Chad, let's shift to you real quick. So maybe some roles you have here. It sounds like you're an educational kind of a guy. So what kind of no, I did that one intentional. That was actually intentional. But so tell us about yourself and what you got going on here, brother.
So my name is Clay Roop. I came into wine 2019 from Texas, and then I was over in China for about 13 years.
Wow.
I was looking for a reason to come back to the States. And I was working on, I was a project manager overseas. And I was working on a company out of New York, Manhattan, had a steakhouse, and they were expanding throughout Asia. And so I was synced up with them and on a project in Jakarta, Indonesia, of all places.
Wow.
I was on the payroll with nothing to do. And so wine was a big part of their concept, of course. And so I just started getting into wine, flew to Italy, spent 6 weeks in Italy and took some wine education classes, was able to pass those, and then started looking at the States and not thinking Texas specifically, but just getting back to America. And I saw what was going on in Texas. Like, wow, they're really growing.
Tell us a little bit, not to interrupt you, but that's really cool. So you saw something, and that's what we've been trying to really highlight with all these wineries and winemakers and ownership. Something is definitely happening here. Right? It's like this tidal wave, or this, I can't even describe it really, but it's some sort of a tectonic movement here in Texas. So you saw that, and what were some of the signs? What were some of the characteristics?
Number one is just the size of Texas, of course, and not knowing much about wine at the time. But Texas is, it's one of the largest, or it is the largest untapped vineyard area in the United States.
Okay.
And so in addition to, we all know people are coming to Texas more and more. And you'll hear this fact thrown out. I can't verify it, but you hear it enough. But we're essentially right behind Napa Valley in terms of wine tourism. And so we know we have an industry that will be growing, and it's just exciting because it is fairly new. We really didn't get started. So the second time around, really into the 70s, of course, Prohibition kind of wiped out everyone.
this prohibition thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Well, that's exciting.
It's a lot of
Yes.
potential. That's
Absolutely.
that's the main thing.
And you recognize that, and it got
Absolutely.
you fired up. I mean, it really got something going inside you, didn't it? Cool. And then you brought your magic and your experience and all those things here. So what is your role here at this awesome?
Primarily education. And
Okay.
when Josh and I were at William Chris, well, that's how we obviously got to know each other. I was the director of education at William Chris, and Camber Garland, who is the owner of this facility, and she was the founder of the Vineyards at Florence. It's a winery just north of Georgetown.
Wow.
And she would host tastings at this facility for industry people, winemakers and, you know, vineyard managers and just people in the industry. And that's kind of planted the seed for an idea like what if we took all those industry professionals and what if we blind tasted wines and then present those to the people, because we obviously are insiders. And that's essentially how the idea emerged.
That's cool. And
So-
how did you two meet then? I mean, what was that connection? Or do you guys have a history
William,
before?
so he was the chef
Yep.
at William Chris.
Okay.
And then I was the director of education. at
And you
William
guys had
Chris.
a great relationship
we got
already.
to know each other, and that's how we
We
started.
were very like-minded, but we also kind of argue like brothers.
Love it.
I think it's great. I don't like people that I can't argue with.
Right.
So-
Right. Some good dialogue.
We can cover a wide range of topics.
Indeed,
Put it that
for
way.
sure. Especially over a glass of wine, right?
That's kind of like me and Michael over here, you know,
Yeah.
because he always threatens to beat me up, and I threaten to push him down.
That's the violent part of our relationship, apparently. And never quite had a fight yet. But yeah, that's awesome. So then you have a business partner. You both have talked passionately about who she is. What is her role now, and what is she doing? And is this little trilateral coalition between the three of you? What is going on, and who is she, and what can she do?
Canberra essentially is our point man for just winery relations. You know, as someone who's she's founded a winery and a vineyard, so she has probably the widest breadth of knowledge.
Okay.
And there is our CEO, who we haven't mentioned yet. That's Matt Shoney. We actually met in Shanghai we were on a softball league together. He was on the
in
internet.
China.
That is crazy.
Yeah, he was in the other team, so
Yeah.
we weren't close. But 'cause he was in a long bar, and we worked for it was a Texas restaurant in Shanghai called Bubba's.
Bubba.
It was actual softball league in Shanghai. It was pretty
That's
wild.
amazing.
Was that barbecue?
It was a barbecue joint.
You bet.
Was it beef or was it?
Yeah, he imported meats from Texas. And
Is that right?
At one point, there was about 50,000 Americans in Shanghai. believe it or not.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we met through that, and a lot of people have been leaving China. That's that'd be a different
Yeah,
podcast.
that's a whole different thing.
Yeah. But he returned to the U.S. and he actually moved to Houston, and he came up to visit Fredericksburg, and it's like, wow, this place is pretty awesome.
Cool.
Exciting to see this new industry.
Yeah.
His specialty is tech. So he was a CTO of a company called Lazada in Asia. And it's kind of like a e-commerce platform, like an eBay or Amazon type shopping place. And so he said, how could I integrate his skill set that could help us in this industry? So with his tech background, we joined forces and created Texas Wine Club.
Literally all the tumblers just kind of fell into place because this idea has been talked about before. I don't know how, I mean, probably everybody we meet says something. You know, I had that idea
Right.
too.
Right.
We just couldn't figure out all the pieces.
They didn't pull the
So
trigger.
Matt Shoney is the glue
Okay.
that put all these pieces together, and
Absolutely.
that's how we're able to do it.
How did he approach you guys? I mean, how did you guys approach each other? It's like, listen, this idea is out there. It's a clever idea, and now it's even more magnificent. But how did it all come together? When was that? I mean, literally, when was that moment where you guys knew we need to do something? Let's make this happen now.
Well, I think the first conversations would have been almost a year ago, I would say. And we officially launched in December. So there was a lot of planning and discussing, you know, what are we doing and why are we doing it? And to put it simply, I would say from the consumer standpoint, if you go to HEB or Twin Liquor, and they have that Texas wine section, you would think that that's representative of the best wines in Texas, but it's not the case. And until I was in the industry, I didn't know. In fact, I would have assumed the opposite. I would have assumed, of course, the best wines in Texas are going to be available.
What a great
Texas
point.
wine section.
What an absolute perfect point.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is.
Because I think I would also think that.
I would have thought the exact same thing.
Yeah, what a great point. Thanks
Well,
for
and
that.
another weird thing that happens inside those stores is that if you look, there's a Chardonnay section,
Mhm.
there's a Cab section.
Mhm.
There's all these very specific sections that there's representation from every country, typically from California, in those sections. And then they put all the Texas wines in this little bitty other section.
Right.
In the back, in the dark corner.
Right. And it's because there's a lot of grapes that grow in Texas that people aren't familiar with.
Right.
So you can't have its own section because but for instance, like if the way that they label wines in other countries, like Rioja, for instance, doesn't say what that grape is. It just says it's Rioja, and you have to know what that is to figure out what that grape is. Kind of the same thing in Texas. Like we're growing those exact grapes, but people might not know what that grape is called.
Correct.
So what you were talking about on why there's such a tidal wave of what's going on in Texas is because Texas finally figured out what to grow and how to grow it.
Okay.
And we're not trying to be someone else. We're trying to flex the Texas muscles.
Identity. It's our identity, right? That's what we're trying to do and trying to accomplish. And I think that's what we're getting across the board, right? Will, is a lot of great things. If I can just throw out one quick compliment, I know Will has a couple questions here as well, is that it's amazing the synergy. You two guys we've met, and obviously your colleagues, your peers, the people you work with. But isn't it ironic or amazing that you guys found each other somehow? I mean, the whole Asian thing just blows my mind and how you got back here to Texas. But we're seeing across the board dynamic people who are capitalizing on an opportunity here in Texas. I'm very excited. I'm going to use a word like a fatherly word. I'm actually really proud of these guys and what they're accomplishing here. So, sorry, that was my paternal moment for the day. But I'm really excited for you guys. I just met you within the hour, and already I can tell you have a wonderful thing going on here.
So first off, I want to say this, since I know Matt can't be here with us because he just had a baby.
Congratulations.
Yeah, second baby. Oh, he didn't say anything about a second baby.
Second baby just in a couple of weeks. So it's just amazing how they reproduce over here. Yes.
Yeah, so congratulations on that. So, but I think what y'all are doing here is freaking amazing. Before this whole us coming out here to this episode with y'all, I looked at y'all's website and I'm like, y'all have provided a lot of good information out there. And I believe it said 21% of Texas already drinks wine, but 28% has not even drank wine yet.
Has not had a Texas wine.
Texas wine. Yeah, Texas wine. And so you're sitting there thinking about that number and you figure out, okay, so Texas would have 8 million people here or something like that?
Texas?
No, more than that, 25 or 40 million or something like that.
I'm not a statistic person, okay? I'll read it and I go
leave that to my department, Will.
But I mean,
sometimes I wish there was only 8.
You're right. There's 8 million people in the Metroplex. So, yeah.
But I mean, if you sit down and think about it, that 28%, that's a big number.
Yeah.
A lot of wine drinkers.
Number.
Well, we consume as a state. Take California, for example. Outside of California, Texas is the number one consuming state for California wines.
Well, because we're the best state. That's why.
Well, but his point is that we consume a lot of California wines, and this huge percentage of people who don't understand. They go to the supermarket, H-E-B, and they're not seeing the showcase wines, which these fellows are going to change. They're going to change that dynamic here in Texas. Yeah. So, very interesting point.
Well, most people, the lion's share of people who buy wine is usually in a grocery store, right? And so if they want to meander over to the Texas section and try things, that's not the best way to convert people to Texas wines.
No, it's not.
Yeah. And I know sometimes, like, for example, up in our area, we have Goody Goody, and they always have like little booths with different vendors come in and share out the wine and stuff.
Kiosk, a little whatever.
Yeah. And I wish they would do something like where they have Texas wine sitting right there every weekend, and they have a new Texas wine that they showcase there. That would be amazing if they did that.
Right. Well, it's still kind of an immature, like historically what's happening in Texas. So we're kind of this, I think we're beyond the infancy stage, but we're getting there where those things are going to start happening, right? People are going to, and these guys are doing that. That's exactly what these guys are trying to do. If we looked at their mission statement, it probably have something to do with exposing Texans to the Texan wine community.
You know what we need? We really need like a state fair wine. Have as many wineries from Texas come and just have a big get together, and
we'll start working on that project.
Well, there is one coming up.
Yeah, we're involved in one in
tell us
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, Rootstock. And
Waco.
You can probably tell more about.
Yeah, so April 15th in Waco, we're participating with Rootstock, which is kind of what you just described. I mean, it's not every winery in Texas, but every winery that's going to be there is from Texas.
Beautiful.
And it's just a wine showcase basically for people
Awesome.
to come and experience Texas wines. And I think there's really some awesome live music. It's in a park in Waco.
Is it a weekend event or what are the dates?
Yeah, it's on April 15th with the Saturday, April 15th.
So it's just a one-day thing.
1 day. Yeah.
Okay.
April 15th,
we'll have to put
Saturday.
that on our schedule for next year.
And be on the lookout because we're going to do something very similar to that on this property.
Okay. Yeah, we
Make
will.
sure when you're ready to do that.
Yeah.
This way events.
We'll
notice.
Yeah, we'd love to be here and celebrate.
Still in the planning phases, but
Right.
I mean, we're definitely going to do that.
Okay, yeah, work with us. We'll definitely love to come out here and do that with y'all.
So, fellas, great staff, great facility, great location, great project. Everything you're doing is fantastic. So, who are you targeting? What are some of the wineries specifically you've been communicating with? Are you really localized right now? Have you expanded to all corners of Texas? So, maybe Josh, talk first. I mean, who are you connecting with? Who are some of the folks who are excited about your adventure?
Just being in high, it's kind of right in the middle of everything, especially in the hill country. There's wineries. There's, I think, 100 wineries within 100 miles of us.
I read that.
At least. There's, over 400 wineries in Texas. The furthest away we've gone, we've gotten stuff from Brownfield.
Wow.
Which is great capital of Texas. I don't know if y'all knew that, but that's what Brownfield is. That's where a lot of the grapes are grown, but there's not a whole lot of actual wineries in that area.
Mm-hmm.
But we worked with Ready, which is in Brownfield. And we've gotten wines from Lavaca Bluff, which is all the way down on the coast.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And everything else is probably, fairly close. Tatum is right around the corner there in Johnson City. We've worked with William Chris, which is actually in high. It's like, probably a mile from here.
Yeah.
And, we've gotten 24 wines so far.
Okay.
And, but I would say close to 60 or 75 wineries have mailed us wine for us to taste through.
That's great.
And we actually haven't touched on that. So
Let's do it.
One of the things that we do to the process is they ship us their wines for us to try. When we started, we were actually going to all these wineries and just tasting through what they had and kind of telling them what we were doing. And they would take us in the cellar and we'd taste through some of their future stuff or stuff that was in barrel. But now that we've established ourselves, people know that we're serious and we're actually champions of the Texas wine industry. They're actually mailing stuff to us.
Wow, that's great.
And Clay, do you want to talk about the guild?
Yeah, and just to add to that, obviously with us living here in the wine capital of Texas, that's great, and we have access to a lot of wineries. But Texas is a big place. So actually, the north side of Texas, specifically. We can't get up there. So them sending wines has been great. And we are planning on going up into North Texas and visiting a lot of these places in person. But that's kind of the goal is to slowly be able to accept wines from all over the state. So there's a lot of territory to cover. So obviously we started where we're located and we're branching out as we go.
Right. How does that work? I mean, you guys have to cast the vision for that, but you ultimately in 5 years, and we'll talk about your vision here in a minute, but you could have 100 wineries sending you different wines, right? And so now
we'll have the 100 wineries sending us wines before the middle of this year.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. So clarification there. That to me is awesome.
It's kind of like us wanting to try to hit 52 wineries. In
a year.
And I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to be doing more than that.
Well, I think we had 100 reach out to us, so that's going to be kind of scary. So kind of the same thing. Well, congratulations on you guys' early successes. So did I hear earlier you guys just started in like December? You really just launched in December.
Wow.
And we're in March now.
So we're almost as old as each other. So we're still.
We're brothers.
And to answer your question from earlier, the Wine Guild, and so this is what Cambria has initiated. So as we talked about, she built this place as an education facility. And again, we saw a way to merge our visions in regards to tasting wines and the education side, which we can get to later. But the Guild is essentially basically formalized what we had informally been doing for the last few years, which is wine professionals coming together and tasting wines. So I thought that was and so what the Guild does, it's independent of the wine club, and they just they receive wines and we set up tastings. We usually do somewhere between we started off doing 30 plus wines in one sitting, but that proved to be a little bit too much. Even if you're spitting wines out, you'd be surprised how quick that would get to your head. So we're doing rounds of 24. So each quarter, we can taste anywhere from 60 to 100 wines.
Wow.
In the span of that quarter. And so we take the Guild will go through the wines again, completely blind, and evaluate the wines. And from that, we can identify.
Y'all know what that means? Y'all know what blind means?
Blind tastings?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have wines. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. We've experienced
bagged up. You don't know anything about it.
You don't know region. You don't know anything, right?
There's a lot of psychology in wine.
Yes.
And in regards to from the customer side, so that's how we select. Everything is blind, no preconceived notions. But this is also on the education side. So we also use this facility and we do classes. It's more of an experience. We call it a class because it does provide education, but it's essentially a platform to where we put wines in front of customers. They have no idea what it is.
Wow.
And we pair that wine with something that's from the old world or European that would be of a similar style or grape. And usually it's a wine that is well received. It's generally a pricier wine because we want to be able to show what our wines, how they line up against the best. And it's really fun to see people not know, like, I can't tell which one is the wine from Spain or the wine from Texas. And I think that's the best way to get people to overcome some of the preconceived notions about Texas wine, which is that it's essentially either sweet or not good. And there could have been a time where that was the case years ago, right? But as the fastest growing wine industry in the United States, if you're not tasting frequently, you're really not up to date on what's going on.
So that is a cool concept.
I want to make this comment. Our viewers cannot see this.
No.
But I'm sitting here with my mind completely blown what y'all are doing here. And I'm like, first off, I'm envious of y'all because y'all get to do something amazing. And then y'all are doing that.
Something you've been wanting to do for, yes.
I mean, but, you know.
You can participate. You can come and do the blind tasting.
There you go.
You're more than welcome. We invite, there's different people every single time. It's not the same group of people. It's
wow.
Well, but on even a smaller version, you can do that at home. I mean, just you and your girl and
we'll
that
be
sort
doing
of
it
thing.
virtually. So
Yeah.
eventually
you're
we're
doing
going to do
virtually.
something virtual. So
That's very cool. We'll
But
do
I mean, it's just what y'all are doing there is just like honestly, I'm speechless, and I'm not a speechless person.
No, rarely. And so yes, usually when you're sleeping. But so that is so awesome, you guys. And what a great, clever way to be transparent as well and make sure that people appreciate it. So are you saying, Clay, that a lot of folks are just like, hey, this wine is spectacular, and it ends up being that Texas wine? Is that correct?
Yeah. And like I said, just from them. I'll give you an example. So the first round of whites, we do a Roussan, and Tatum makes a great Roussan. I believe, he's making wines at levels that aren't going to be located. They're not going to have those available in retail. I think it was 70 or 80 cases.
Not much.
Yeah. We bought almost half.
We almost bought half of the allotment.
Okay, right.
Cow.
And then we put that up against a Roussan-based white Chateauneuf de Pape. I think it was like a $65 wine, so it's pricey. And people they don't know which is which. And it's not that we're trying to show that we're better, because a wine of that caliber, we expect people to be picking that as the high quality wine. But that usually it's almost 50-50 every time. And then the second round, and we actually just did a tasting in Austin at the Food and Wine Foundation. Mm-hmm. And in that last tasting, we had a Dego Vino Tempranillo 2019. Mm-hmm. And we put that up against the same exact year vintage. So 2019, it was a wine that was selected by Wine Spectator as a top 100 wine. It was actually number 78. And that was, I think, another wine that was in the 50 plus range. And about 3/4 had picked the Texas Dego Vino Tempranillo as the superior one.
That is
over a wine that was deemed to be a top 100 by Wine Spectator.
Wow, that is so cool. That's awesome. You got me actually kind of excited too. I'm not speechless though. I want to go home and get my relatives together and do the same thing. So pretty cool. So we'll be participating in that, and for sure making sure and highlighting that people have the opportunity to participate in that. Sounds fantastic. So that's the guild. Is that the guild? Is that what you're talking about there? That's the company.
Yeah.
Okay.
We work along with the guild. Yeah.
Okay. Very, very good.
So I have a question on this. Mm-hmm. So right now you're getting wines from all different regions of Texas.
Correct.
So once this really just hammers off from all parts of region of Texas, are y'all thinking about doing like a North Texas box, a Central Texas box, a South Texas box, or even, if someone wants to do a mixed region box? You ever thought about doing something like that possibly?
So we haven't thought about that specifically, but what we are thinking of some one-off things that we can do. Like, for instance, like winemaker grower, like combination. Mm-hmm. So there are some wineries that the person that's making the wine is also growing the fruit. Oh. So that's not very common. There's a handful of them in Texas, right. But we're thinking about doing a one-off box of just like a wine grower box, something like that.
Perfect. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. And also there's Kerrville Hills, which I don't know if you've been there, or John Rivenberg runs Kerrville Hills Winery, and what he's doing, he's calling his place an incubator winery. Have y'all heard that?
No, I have not.
That's a new term.
So a lot of
I need to
winemakers.
talk to him.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's great. So he has a platform for future winemakers and current winemakers, actually, obviously, because they're making wine at his place. He has 27 people making wine at his facility, and he is there in the mentor type position to help bring in more winemakers into the state. Because if you want to be a winemaker and you don't have a couple $1 million, to have your own facility,
Right.
you need a place to start. So
And plus, the mentorship is fantastic, right? You have that person you can rely on and lean on.
So we went to him, and we were kind of nervous and excited to tell him our concept, because that's the kind of guy we really wanted to get excited about our project, and he absolutely loved it. And then he said, I have a winemaker here, Meredith Reed. She's making killer rosé, and that's how he led us to that. We put that in our blind tasting, and it emerged as a top rosé.
Wow.
So
That is awesome.
and then the idea we were already talked about, at some point we could actually just do either its own club, or maybe it'd be a special addition to what we have, and kind of the up and coming winemakers.
Young guns of the Texas wine industry, something
Love it.
similar to that.
Yeah.
It's all like these the wineries or the winemakers that don't have a home, basically, like the winery orphanage, essentially.
Okay.
Where like Tatum for a while, he didn't have his own spot. Now he has his own spot.
Yeah.
But and like Cellar Rat didn't have their own spot. Like we've featured 3 or 4 wines that don't have a footprint where you can go taste their wines.
So
Okay.
y'all need to reach out to Lonesome Vine.
Lonesome Bar.
Lonesome
Yeah.
Vine. They are a brand new winery. They've been up maybe 3 months
I
now.
think they're kind of like brothers and sisters as well, kind of running mates.
They are an amazing little winery out there, and we love Andrew and Christy out there.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Where-
Shout out
where's
to them.
the location?
They're out there south of St. Joe at Montague County.
Okay.
So they're a really nice little winery out there. They would definitely love y'all's support.
Well, let's just shift for a minute and talk about the vision of what you guys are doing here. Obviously, we are, we're ecstatic to be part of this and to watch you guys grow. But cast a vision here in a few years, guys. I mean, what do you? I mean, surely after hearing you guys talk today and discussing some of your beautiful projects you have and the relationships you've built that are outstanding too, where do you see yourselves here in the future? I mean, is this gonna explode to something bigger? I mean, I'm in a facility now, which is a nice facility, but the way you guys are talking, this maybe not to be big enough. What do you guys think?
Oh, warehouse for sure. So right now this space is doubling is our everything. So it's our warehouse, it's where our G permit is, it's where our education classes are, it's where we'll host events. We have plans to build a warehouse in the future. That the location of that is still kind of up in the air. It could be just right around the corner, like right over there. So then this will be more of where we do host events, pickup parties, things like that. Because if we can get everything centralized to this location, that would be ideal, obviously.
Absolutely.
Right.
We're in the epicenter of the wine industry right now. 290 sees like 1 million cars a weekend. So this is perfect for us.
Yeah.
But in the future, I think, we don't want to get so big that we can't source wine.
Mhm.
Right.
So say we had 5,000 members, which, that sounds great, but
It's a lot of work.
5,000 bottles to
Yeah.
get a commitment from some of these smaller wineries, they couldn't do it.
Right.
Right. And then that would have to change our model. We would only start working with all the ones that are huge producers.
I got you.
Once you get so big, it's the quality kind of tends to go down, and it's not that same boutique feel.
I agree.
You're not getting that, unique experience. So
Right.
the only way I think we could figure out to solve that problem is maybe we source more than 12 wines per quarter, and then you don't know what you're getting, but it's always going to be the best. It just might not be what you get and you get.
We get 2 different boxes of wine. That'd be kind of fun.
I would be jealous because we got some stuff I wanted.
We'd have to arm wrestle, I guess. I don't know.
Logistically, that's a little more difficult to deal with. But
Yes.
I mean, I think that's the only way we can solve that problem.
And under our
It's a good
current,
problem to have.
under our current capacities, we're limited to just 300 wine club members, which we've almost reached at this point. And then once we hit that, and then that was kind of our first milestone, and we can figure out how to get a little bit bigger and possibly even look to shipping outside of Texas. So we've as we talked earlier, we have enough consumers here to support a wine club without having to go out of state. So,
but you want to get outside of state because you want people outside of Texas to know how good Texas wine is, because they look at California and Washington and New York and New Jersey and they're like, hey, we got wine from over here, but you know what? Texas is on the cusp of being the greatest state in the world. Well, I mean, actually, we already are the greatest state, but I mean, the greatest state when it comes to wine producing, and we want them to know that California isn't the only place now that makes wine.
We do want them to know that, but we need to
start here.
The Texans to know that first.
Yeah.
So that's kind of phase one. And Josh could probably tell you more about the challenges of going out of state. But we feel like that's the first thing we want to.
Your first benchmark is to accomplish that and then grow from there. Right. Yeah. Well, and you guys have probably set that up, right? You guys had the business model, the template. You guys discussed all the time about each different level you're going to be accomplished. Let's accomplish this one first, tackle that, and then of course move on from there. Yes.
And I know that shipping out to different states, I mean, there are different laws and all that some of them are real stringent about shipping wine out there. So yeah.
Some of them, like, there is no you don't have to pay a fee. Some of the states, the fee is thousands of dollars, and you have to pay it every year.
So, oh my goodness!
It's shipped to all 50 states, which I don't even think it's.
I think there's 7 states that do not allow that.
Yeah,
there's some that you can just ship. There's no restrictions, and then there's some that, like I said, the restrictions are. We need a person just doing compliance for all of that.
Right.
Wow,
that's crazy.
But they don't make it easy, and the government wants their money, right?
Right. Always.
So that's the bottom line.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm with Chad and Josh. I say stay local for the time being, accomplish that, and just kick butt for sure. And then from there, you can go. You can venture out, right? But accomplish what you're trying to do here first.
Yeah, I mean, so something I've not asked at any of our wineries yet: has any of our Texas wine actually made it over to Europe and they've actually tasted it?
I've heard Japan. There's some Texas wines there, but I don't know.
Chris just got back from Japan like last week, and I talked to him yesterday, and he said that he was at this expo in Japan. Chris from Weavers, and he was at this Japanese expo. Him and Joe went over there, and he said that their booth was the only one that had a line. And, he's figuring out a way to ship wine.
Japanese, they love Texas culture. I heard there's like all these
cowboy hats and
1800 style saloons in Japan. They dress up as cowboys and stuff.
That's hilarious.
Check that out.
Well, I've heard about the cowboy hats, and I guess it's a big industry importing cowboy hats. So no doubt Texas wine is next for sure. Well, good. So tell us about the feedback you're getting so far. You're working with some great wineries. Josh, what's some of the feedback you guys are getting right now? I'm sure they're grateful, of course, but are they excited? Are they excited about the collaboration? Maybe just kind of like a simple way, maybe just kind of talk about those great relationships.
Yeah. So right when we were getting started, we didn't know what the response was going to be from the wineries. We knew that there was a want from consumers, but getting the product was a different story, right? So there was a little bit of, okay, how are we going to present this to these guys? Because what are the questions and what are the pushback that we're going to get from these wineries when we go talk to them, right? So we powwowed about that, and we were kind of nervous. And then the first ones we go to, it was like none of the questions were asked. No one thought that this was not a good idea. Everyone loved the idea. They loved that we were going to be a marketing arm for them, which that's what we do better than everybody else.
Right.
So our SEO presence, search engine optimization, that's what Matt is. That's his bread and butter. That's what he does, right? So, we're creating the best content. We have, Clay does all the writing for our website. So all the articles Clay's responsible for. And that's what drives people to your site, right? So if you type something in, search, are you on the first page? Are you the first result? Well, if you're the first result, there's a reason for that.
Yes,
right?
there is.
It's because someone worked really hard to get to that organic point where you're the first one that pops up.
And SEO is hard to do. I've done SEO stuff. It's hard.
And Matt, I think we're already first page. If you type in probably like 50 or 60 different keywords, we're
wow, page. He is good. Good for him, Matt.
And so that's kind of what we brought to the table with them. Like, look, we're going to be doing marketing for you guys. All of our social, that it involves other wineries. We're not pushing the Texas Wine Club as much as we're pushing the Texas wine industry.
Right.
So
and we just started doing in the latest shipment where the wineries whose wines get selected, they have an opportunity to provide tastings for the recipients. So to invite them to actually go and visit that winery in person. So we're actually trying to get people to go to these places.
Very cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, multi-dimensional, which is pretty cool. Well, awesome. Well, guys, as we kind of get towards the end of this a little bit, anything else you want to speak about here? Please promote what you got going on. Do not be immodest around us, and just talk about some of the great things you got going on.
Or do you want to list out some of the wineries that y'all actually currently ship with?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
Basil highlight, shout out.
Yeah, so Coolman, we've gotten 2 of their wines so far. I think their winemaker over there, Benny, she's good friends with all of us. She comes into almost every one of our blind tastings. She's part of the guild. So definitely shout out to Coolman. I already mentioned Lavaca Bluff. I already mentioned Tatum. Whisper Path is in this next one. French Connection is in this next one. You can see him behind me, Clay.
Yeah. We have Texas Heritage.
Ready, The Source, which is the Grower Project, which is a collaboration from Lost Straw and William Chris.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Let's see, Adega Vino, we already mentioned.
And the
Cellarat is another one that probably no one's
Cellarat, okay.
Cellarat.
Yeah, that's actually a good buddy of mine.
Why?
I mean, on that note, so that the way that these wines make it in, we're friends with a lot of these people,
Sure.
right? So they send us their wines and we taste through them, and sometimes they don't make the cut, right? And sometimes they do. So there's never any behind closed doors handshakes with, hey, get our wine in. It's always like, well, it has to be top 3 in these categories for us to even reach out and get pricing. So it's truly the best of the best, and it has nothing to do with who we know, who you are, what
Right.
It's all
Pretty genuine.
Yeah, it's very democratic.
I love it.
And I would say from the consumer side, to go back to when I was just a consumer, it was hard for me to understand the mechanics of the industry to why would the best wines not be in the store? I think once you understand, I've heard the numbers between 30 and 50,000 people that come in to on 290 every day on the weekends. And so people will pay a premium to have land out here on 290. Mm-hmm. So if a bottle of wine costs you $10 and you want to sell it for 30, then you're obviously making that money goes to your program and your winery. But if you want to get it into a retail space, you need to sell it for a lower price that they need to make a profit on, and they have to make that price even lower. So there's not a whole lot of, you'd rather make the wines and sell them directly to customers. Right. And so their best wines are held back to be sold directly. And I think that's the thing that is the hardest to understand. And most people who live in wine, communities kind of understand that, but this is all new to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. I was approached by a wine owner and about doing some marketing for him. And that was what we were going to touch on, is getting those wines into the stores. And it was complex. It was very, very complex, working with the distributors and working with the markets. And it was intense stuff. But I see what you're saying 100%. You're going to want to keep your best wines to make the most profit. Maybe through guys like you, run those things through you.
Yeah, and that's driving people to their actual places.
That's so huge.
That was the goal for us to get. We want people to join your wine club.
Right.
Not necessarily ours. They can join ours to begin with, just to figure out, hey, what's the best of the best. But if you're a Texas Wine Club member and you are on your 4th shipment and you've gotten 3 wines from a winery that you've never heard of, but you loved all 3 of them, and there's a really good chance that you're going to go visit that place, and you're probably going to join their wine club, which is the goal for us, is to promote these guys through us.
Yeah. Well, you guys are doing a great thing here. And just even kind of go more selfishly to what we're trying to accomplish. If we can showcase what you're doing, that is our number one intention here. And so to drive traffic to you, drive information to you and your team so that you guys can obviously thrive. And then, of course, promote the wineries you're working with.
Well, that's why we do have a sponsorship with them right at this moment.
Who is that? Yeah.
With the TexasWines.com,
Right. So it's our website is txwine.com. Right? And then we're on every social channel. So we've Instagram, Facebook. We have our own YouTube channel. We do a lot of educational videos. So even if you don't want to join the wine club, follow us on socials, because you're going to learn a lot about the Texas industry and the wine industry just by following us on socials and checking out our videos.
And we piloted this concept of doing those tastings I was referring to earlier. That was every Saturday, 1:00, but because of the response, we are going to start rolling out. So every Friday, noon, and at 2:00, as well as Saturday. So noon, 2:00, Friday and Saturday, we'll be doing these tastings that I was alluding to earlier. So
that's great. Thank you for that.
Experience that, and that will be Of course, we'll have more details on our site, but
Perfect.
within the next few weeks, we'll be doing that.
And you just stole it. The educational part of this is so important. You guys are doing a great job
There's
with that.
51 different grapes we're growing in Texas, right?
51 different grapes.
Going back to, when you go into a wine shop, it's a Cabernet Sauvignon, Chardonnay,
Right.
maybe Syrah. What it should have is Viognier, Tempranillo, Mourvèdre, Pigpoul, grapes that no one really knows.
Right.
And that's a challenge. So there is education involved in understanding the industry.
Yeah. And Josh, you had a point as well?
Yeah, to talk about what Clay was talking about, the educational classes that we do here in High at our facility, we actually do in people's homes now too. So we didn't know if this was going to work or not, but we sent it out there on just a Facebook ad, and we probably got 50 to 60 responses in like 3 days.
Right. Wow.
Hey, will you come to Houston? Hey, will you come to Fort Worth? Hey, will you come here? And so we had to find someone just to field all of those questions.
Oh.
It actually happens to be Clay's fiance.
Hey.
Very
All right.
convenient. So
Good
thank you,
choice.
Stephanie, for that.
Stephanie, shout out.
But yeah, so
Love you.
here in the next couple of weeks, we'll piloting that out, like going to these homes and doing classes from 10 to 20 people. The exact
Interesting.
same class that we do here, but we're doing it.
Well, if y'all ever want to come up to Fort Worth, or if you come to Fort Worth, give us a holler.
Yeah.
We'd love to connect because North Texas is high on our list of next
Well,
places to go.
we're wanting to do some things pretty soon, like probably in the next 30, 60 days.
Yeah.
We want to do like a tasting Thursday, possibly, hint to the users out there.
That's about that's in the time frame where we want to get up to North
We'll
Texas.
definitely build that relationship because that's something that we've been talking about. You guys obviously are a little further ahead than we are in that regard, but let's make that happen, right?
Yeah.
Will? Let's
Let's
prioritize
talk
that.
about that and let's make it happen.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All
Clay
right.
and Josh, you have one more thing
Yeah,
that we got?
one more thing. So if our listeners are going out to their website and they want to sign up,
Sure.
if you sign up and use We Know Texas Vino, all one word, you can get a 40% off your first shipment.
Okay. That's right.
So that's what I'm just reading here from Matt.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, man. If Matt said that, then
That's the
gospel.
deal.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's actually news to me, but I'm all for it.
poor Josh and Clay were throwing under the bus there real quick. It's like, what the heck?
Well,
Sounds right.
I mean, but
That's a hell of a discount. So sign up, guys.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, sign
We'll
up.
say it again. So we'll review because you sent it to me as well. Go ahead and review that real quick for our listeners.
So if you go to texaswine.com, txwine.com.
TXwine.com.
Yeah, TX. That's
Not
T-
Texas. TXwine.com.
That's Texas, TexasXrayWine.com. And then when you go check out, put in We Know Texas Vino as one word,
Right.
and you get 40% off.
Yep, 40% off. It says right here on our email. So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Well, that's a great collaboration for sure. So, Chad, any last thoughts from you, sir?
No, just
It's Clay.
Yeah.
they're both 4
Chad.
letters.
Hey, Chad, get over here. Where's Chad?
How much wine do
Clay.
you have there, Mike?
How are we calling Chad all night?
A few times, about 50-50, that's right. But both Chad and
You know,
Clay
that's one
are-
thing I can't.
My wife's
so.
here laughing at me. I'm a little embarrassed, actually. Clay. It's kind of the
I
same.
mean, I can edit a lot of things out, but I can't edit that out.
No, you got to edit that out.
You gotta leave that in.
No, that's horrible.
Calling you
That's
Chad.
embarrassing. No.
We are both excited about
Jake,
being here
right?
and talking
Jake?
with you guys.
Jake and Chad.
You know, that's one thing that when I reached out to y'all about doing this little collaboration together, you know, I think we both our podcasts and what y'all are doing actually works perfect together. Like we complement each other.
I agree. Yeah.
And definitely, you know, I would love to, and I've got to obviously talk to my partner here, that I would love to do more stuff with y'all because we got the audio side, y'all got the internet side.
Yeah, and even when we sync up in the next 30 to 60 days, we could even, if it works, I know this is a podcast, but we could do that little tasting and people can kind of experience that as y'all do it. And,
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be fun.
That would be awesome.
And just for the record, I did have Clay typed in the first notes, and somehow on the bottom of my page it went to Chad. So just for the record, I'm going to own it big time. I apologize for that, Clay. That's
Hey, how
horrible.
about we?
Yeah.
What would be really cool is if we did the blind tasting class with you guys on a podcast.
That'd be cool.
That would be awesome. Can
Yeah, let's make that
can we
happen.
do it on a video?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we'll do the
Do it
live
live?
video, and that'd be
really
fun.
cool.
That would be awesome because
Yeah.
that's the next thing that we're going to venture into. So
Well, I'm excited about that for sure. So, and then Josh, it is Josh, right? Any last comments from you, young man? I know your enthusiasm is awesome. Both of you guys, your enthusiasm fantastic. But any last thoughts you'd like to share?
No, I just this opportunity with you guys. I was a little nervous about being on a podcast, but I think that y'all made it very easy, and it's, just kind of rolls off the tongue. Everything
Try to keep it
great.
happy
So,
and a lot of humor, and we love to learn as much as anyone else.
So, the one thing about this podcast that when I presented this to Michael, I don't want it to be that tight knit, collared, tight all the way up to your throat and
Pretentious.
Pretentious. Yes, I love that. I love that word.
Rogan and
Yeah, Roy Rogan. There you go.
But I want humor in this whole thing because Texas wine is amazing, but we want them to know that the people behind the mic, behind the wine, behind everything is human, just like us, and they like to laugh just as much as we do. And I love humor. Humor and laughter is the essence of life.
But it's humor, it's stuff. But it's real life too. These are two amazing gentlemen doing a phenomenal thing. So it's
we're
bad.
making wine.
It's cool.
Science, so it's really fun.
Well, cool. Well, thank you guys so much, and stick around. We're going to do an educational portion as well here. But we'll do some closing thoughts here in a moment after our educational process. But any last words before we head to that portion?
I'm just really thankful for the opportunity to come out here with these gentlemen here.
It's been fun.
I wish we could have had everybody out here because it would definitely been fun. But I definitely want to do more with these guys.
Yeah, it's going to happen for sure. We'll prioritize that. All right, well, stick around, folks, and our great listeners. We'll be back in a moment with our educational portion. Thank you.
Howdy, Texas. This is Erica, Michael's wife, and a fellow wine enthusiast. I hope you are enjoying the We Know Texas Vino podcast as much as I am. Will and Michael are doing a fabulous job highlighting our local wineries and tapping into the knowledge of local growers. Fill up your glass as we dive into our educational segment for this episode. Salud.
Back, everyone. We Know Texas Vino. We're here for the educational portion. We've had a lot of fun, Will, so far.
Yes, this has actually been probably one of our amazing episodes.
Yeah, well,
I mean, all of our episodes are amazing.
Yes, but it's so educational here and so amazing.
educational.
Also, I feel the enthusiasm, which is pretty cool. But we're here with Josh and Clay, and we're going to do a little educational portion real quick. And Clay, you're kind of spearhead this a little bit. But we were talking earlier, pregame, and we were talking about a couple different is there varietals. How do you describe that?
Yeah. So there's the grape that we make wine from is Vitis vinifera. That's the European grape. So anytime you've heard of a name that's on a bottle of wine, so Cabernet, Tempranillo, Sangiovese, these are all Vitis vinifera. And we have grapes here in the States. If you can remember back to high school, when the Vikings founded the United States, Leif Erikson called it Vineland. There's vines everywhere. So we have a lot. Texas has the most, actually, of any state. We have 21. Mustang grapes you see on the side of the road everywhere.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You can make wine from that, but it's not ideal. The Vitis vinifera is the most ideal. I'll give you an example. When it comes to a table grape versus a wine grape, which one do you think is sweeter?
The table grape.
The table grape, for sure.
Wine grape.
Oh,
So
I'll be darned.
Everyone says that, so don't feel bad. 9 out of 10 will say that. But the reason why you make wine from Vitis vinifera, the wine grape, is because it's the sweetest concentration of sugars in a fruit. There's a few fruits out there in the world that are as dense in terms of sugar, like mangoes. But that's why, because you can make wine from any fruit.
Right.
But wine is ideal because of its high sugar content. So wine grape is, they use a metric called Brix. It's the sugar content of fruit. And a wine grape is around 26. Of course, it's not going to mean anything to you, but a table grape is around 15 to 17. So it's almost half as sweet.
And sugar equals
Alcohol.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did know that answer. That's good.
So we do
not know
have
that.
grapes all over the place. Mustang grapes, and I think muscadine came up. That's another American species of grape. I think there's somewhere around anywhere, I don't know the number, over 40 different local species in the United States. But again, Texas has quite a few.
You said Texas has 21 of those?
21.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay.
That is crazy.
So we were trying to isolate it earlier. Again, pregame. I'm an old dumb jock, so I always talk about like the pregame part of this. But we were kind of talking about the differential, I guess, the indigenous grapes I wrote here versus some that people think are from here but are not. So can you maybe talk about like the Muscat? I think that was the one that came up in
So
discussion.
Muscat is a European grape.
European.
But it sounds similar to muscadine, which is a grape that does grow natively. It's more East Coast, but it does get as far west as Oklahoma and Texas.
Okay.
And then you'll see some. So there's a difference between crosses and hybrids. So you'll come across this. So a cross is if you take two of the same species and create a new species. Perfect example is Cabernet Sauvignon has a parent, which is Cabernet Franc, which you may have heard of.
We love it.
A lot of people don't realize the other grape is actually Sauvignon Blanc.
Blanc, yeah.
So that's hence Cabernet Sauvignon. So that's a cross. A hybrid is when you take a European grape and then say a Texas grape.
Oh.
So there's a few of those in
That's
the industry.
interesting.
There's two main ones here.
Norton, is that one?
Norton is also a hybrid. We don't see a whole lot of that here, but in Texas, there's primarily two hybrids that you'll see: Blanc du Bois and Black Spanish, aka Lenoir.
Oh, I've heard a lot about Black Spanish. I
Yeah.
did not know what that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they
Okay.
are, because of them being hybrids with Texas stock, they can be grown closer down into the Gulf Coast area.
That's what we heard. They're more east of here.
There's
Yeah.
a certain range where vinifera doesn't do as well. But those are the two that you'll see in Texas.
But like Blanc de Bois does really well in coastal areas.
Okay.
That's where a lot of it comes from.
So,
Okay.
And they make some great wines out of that.
Yeah.
That's very
Those are
interesting.
the two main ones that you'll need to get familiar with.
Yeah,
Texas
well,
wines.
that's really what I wanted to hit on. That's so interesting. I mean, I just learned so much meeting people in this industry. But would you say what are the top three? We have 21 here in Texas, but what are the ones people are thriving with? Or give me like the top three that you think overall people are really just taking off
out
with.
of the 21 local species, none of those, because
Right.
we don't make wine purely from those.
Okay.
But you will, the hybrids, as I said, Lenoir / Black Spanish and Blanc du Bois. But the question we do get a lot is, well, what's the grape of Texas, right? Well,
There we go.
Texas is bigger than France. So it would be akin
Right.
to saying, well, what's the official grape of France? Well, what
Different
region
regions.
are you in?
Yep.
So there will never be a grape of Texas.
Okay,
but I
good.
can tell you that there's some trends that we see. So on the red side, Tempranillo kind of got the early lead in becoming, quote, the red of Texas.
Right.
But you're seeing more, especially in the hill country, a lot of Sangiovese.
Okay.
If you think about where Sangiovese comes from, it's the hills of Chianti, right?
Yep.
Central, so it's quite warm. And one of the parents of Sangiovese is a grape that comes from Calabria, which is in the toe of Italy. So it can handle heat.
Oh,
So
interesting.
Sangiovese in hill country is amazing. So
Wow.
you're going to see more Sangiovese. Tanat's a grape that Will, I think, mentioned earlier that you might want to plant. That comes from southwest France, also a lot of heat. A place called Madiran, so you'll see Tanat a lot. That one is interesting because it's such a big grape and it kind of fits the personality of Texas. It's the most tannic grape variety
Okay.
in the world, so that's a fun one. And on the red side, you're going to see a lot of stuff from southern France, like grapes like Picpoul, which you might not have heard of.
I've not heard of that one.
Viognier, Roussan, Marsan. These are all Rhone varietals.
Okay.
And we're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
There's definitely some that are tried and true, like Tempranillo. Most wineries are making Tempranillo.
Yeah.
Making
still
Tanat.
tend to move that.
And Mourvèdre would be the third
We're seeing
one.
that a lot more as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, good call.
Then the pronunciation gives a lot of different people call it Mourvèdre.
Mourvèdre.
Right. That's what we called it at first,
So
right?
Benedict Ryan from Coleman, she's from Provence. She's like, it's Mourvèdre.
Move Ed.
Move in.
That's how she.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you
Tells
look
me to
at
say
it,
it
you
at
know,
least.
Yeah. Well, I think you and I both called it that the first time we
Yeah,
saw it.
I
And
think
Well, it's
I
kind
think
of
we
like
were
one of those
corrected.
things. Do you want to really say everything exactly how it's supposed to be pronounced?
Right.
Sometimes I
Well-
mean, like, there's a lot of words where you don't do that.
Right.
Like, I don't roll my R's every time I say burrito. But
Burrito.
I know how it's supposed
Right,
to be said.
right.
I just don't know.
it's
Bruschetta? Who says that?
it's kind of like
Everyone says bruschetta.
it's like
So,
everybody
there's a
says chorizo, and it's not chorizo, it's chorizo.
And our family story is my brother lived in Greece for a couple years. He came back because I had a gyro. They were like, you mean a gyro? It's like a gyro. Yeah, but now we call it a euro because of my brother. But yeah, it's the pronunciation. Well, thank you for that. That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. And any final thoughts on that? I mean, that'll teach our listeners so much.
Yeah, that was amazing.
One of the things that I think, in order to best understand Texas wines, find one of those grapes. So if it's Tanat, for example,
Okay.
and then go find an example of that from a different place around the world.
Uruguay or just some
Uruguay
yeah.
or France.
Mhm.
And, when you want to do a Mourvèdre, go get one. Well, there's really only one place in France that does full varietal Mourvèdre, because Mourvèdre is very hard to work with. It's very finicky and low yielding.
Okay.
So they don't do a whole lot of full varietal. But if you go into Spain, because it needs heat,
Heat.
and we have heat.
Yes, we do.
So then you can get a monastrell, which is what they call it in Spain.
Cool.
So I think that's the best thing to do is find a grape. If you're not familiar with a grape specifically, then go find an old world version of that, and then you
Perfect.
can kind of see where we're going.
I love that so much. Well, cool. Thank you for that. And Josh, let's turn to you real quick. I know you had some thoughts during our break here. I was really interested in. You want to maybe share some of those ideas if you recall them? I know it was a few minutes ago, but
Something about Texas and awesome.
Yeah.
I
I'm kind of excited to hear it.
The Texans have so much pride
Yes.
in everything that they, participate in, whether it's, football or barbecue or anything like that. That it's about time that we start showing that same amount of Texan pride for this industry as well too, in the wine industry for sure. I kind of liken the Texas wine industry to a Ford F-350 King Ranch edition. It's still a amazing luxury vehicle. So
Absolutely.
It costs about $100,000, but it's functional, it's durable, it's tough to sell, and you can get a lot accomplished with it.
Right.
So like I would compare all the other wine, areas of the world to kind of like sports cars, where the Texas is a lot more grit to it.
Absolutely.
So,
And so what you're saying is this country we're in right now, we wouldn't want to drive a Bentley down through that area right there. I mean, it's still a luxury car, but maybe it's a little bit more European,
I don't
prestigious.
think it has a four-wheel drive
No,
portion of
we'll
this.
take the big truck, the 350. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much,
Yes.
and what a treat it is to meet you guys. We wish you the best in your endeavors. I know you'll do extraordinarily
Yeah.
well as your other two business partners. We're so excited to watch you guys, and as you grow in this state and beyond, we're super pumped.
Yeah, and I really look forward for this partnership that we have
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
because it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Well, real quick, Joshua, just review again where we can find you guys, and that way we can send our listeners to you
Can
directly.
we not have Chad do that?
We got Chad do it. I don't know why. I picked Josh there. We can have, do you have anybody else in the house I need to talk to?
So you can find us. The best place to go to look and see exactly what we're doing is txwine.com. That's where you can. All of our content is up there. All the articles. It can redirect you wherever you want to go. And then we're on all social platforms: Instagram, Facebook. We have our own YouTube channel. But yeah, and we do a lot of educational videos on all of those platforms. So even if you just want to learn a little bit, just go check us out and go through our socials.
And I would
That sounds
add to
perfect.
that, if you are interested in either coming out to Hill Country and trying out some Texas wines and doing a little experience with the European wines, you'll go check out our website, or you could just simply send us a message. So Josh at TX Wine, and mine currently is CLAY at Texas Wine, but I need to change that to Chad at Texas Wine.
Chad.
I'll have both of those available.
What you guys all missed here is we were going to edit that, and now it's so explosive that there's no way we can edit this much of the show. So,
Oh, we're not
yeah,
editing it at
the
all.
Michael
No,
error
no,
of the
no,
day.
no.
Well, thank you for that.
No,
That's
seriously,
beautiful.
you can drop us a message and
Josh at txwine.com is
Yeah.
my email address, and then Clay.
and then
at
Clay. So if you have a
txwine.com.
group, and we're still trying to figure out the specifics, but if you have a certain amount of people within a certain radius, we'll be happy to come your way and do a little tasting for you.
Awesome.
That sounds great.
We'll definitely try to work on something up around
Yeah,
Fort Worth.
yeah,
well,
So just
maybe-
whenever y'all come out, we'll do that up there.
All right, well, closing remarks. What's your takeaway today, sir?
You know, my closing remarks here is, and my takeaway actually from this whole thing is that it's learning about the community of wines in Texas. You know, you and I have been doing this now for a couple of months now,
Right.
a couple of weeks, and we've
Couple
learned
weeks.
so much. But what we just learned down here is that, you know, the community is much bigger than what we assumed it was, and what this establishment is doing is going to help promote Texas wines even further.
Yeah, it's a win-win-win across the board for sure
Yeah,
for everyone. That's
it
pretty
definitely
cool.
is.
And my takeaway is just, you know, I've from marketing, and I've seen development projects, e-commerce development projects. I've seen what Amazon has done since the mid-90s is pretty cool. But what these guys are doing and their teammates is explosive, because I think it's really going to grow. I think you guys need to put your seatbelts on right now. I think you're going to have some amazing growth here in the next year and two. And so congratulations on that. My takeaway is we just discovered something really fantastic. Glad to be part of it,
Yes.
right? You want to be part of this
Yes.
magic for sure. Well, good. Well, awesome. Well, I'm going to finish this today with one of my quotes. I actually have two again this week. You ready for them?
Ruh-roh.
I'm going more profound this week, though. I mean, I've always used a little humor in my quotes, but
profound or
this one's a little
sophisticated?
Emerson. I'm going to do a little Emerson real quick. But
Okay.
give me wines to wash me clean of the weather stains of cares. Is that deep or what? Did I just blow your mind, Will?
I'm going to need some moment to think about that.
Well, this
one.
one's even better. This is from the 1200s. Either give me more wine or leave me alone. Yahoo. So we're excited for that. But listen, guys, we're excited. Thank you again, gentlemen, for allowing us to be here. This is a great facility, great location.
Yes.
We're excited about this area. And you're, in high HYE, Texas. You guys are going to thrive. You're going to just do great things. We're excited to be part of that.
Yeah. And so, you know what, guys? This is Will,
This is Michael.
and this is We Know Texas Vino.
Yeah, another day, another glass of wine. Salute from this great location in High Texas. Love you guys.
Cheers.